Bridget is on a mission to help mission-driven companies light up the world with creative, authentic communication. Please, let's introduce and welcome to the stage, Bridget Burnham.
Thanks, Les. So yeah, I'm Bridget Burnham. I'm so excited to be here. I really admire what Travis is doing with AGC. I think it's a great group. I love the mission component of it, and it's just a fun group of people and all these smiling faces. I've got to meet a few of you before this event, but would hope to meet a lot of you afterwards. Like Les said, I am a communications and public relations consultant, so I help people share their message, and I'm going to share a little bit about my story to start. So this is me in 6th grade, and I actually moved in 6th grade, which is a pretty traumatic time, I think, for anyone. I don't know if anyone's moved in their childhood, but awkward phase. Had quite the hair going, and I moved from a small town in Wisconsin to another small town in Wisconsin, and I joined a classroom of about 17 boys and 3 girls, and the class was known as kind of the troublemaking class. So it wasn't a great environment for someone who was kind of nerdy, not good at sports, a little bit shy. It was not the most welcoming environment for me, and I was, I think my confidence definitely took a hit. I definitely stopped participating in class and started getting notes home, Bridget isn't participating, she's not raising her hand in class, and, would dread those days when I would get called on, and just always hoped to fly under the radar in that classroom every day. But I did enjoy art, so there was a contest. It was for the Minnesota Coalition for Battered Women was looking for a logo for a campaign they were doing. And it was about hands are not for hitting, and they wanted kids to decorate their handprint and that kind of thing. So I loved art, so I poured my heart into my design and really enjoyed creating it. What I didn't realize was the result of having my design chosen, which it was having to speak in front of the entire school and give a speech to unveil the billboard that had my design on it. Awesome. Yeah, it would have been awesome, except for I was already freaked out about talking in front of my class, and now it was going to be the whole school, and there were state representatives, and it was an intense thing to think about as a kid, as a 6th grader. I think I had my braces at that time, and the bangs going, and all that stuff. And I was just mortified, and I thought, oh, I don't want to do this. What can I do to get out of it? Maybe I can be sick, maybe, but at the end, I think it was my parents who gave me the advice, this really isn't about you. This is about the campaign it was Jane Zeller put that together, worked really hard on that campaign for a good cause. And so, they were kind of like, suck it up, write your speech and do it. And, and I did. And what I think I learned from that, looking back, I probably wasn't that wise then, but that it really was an empowering experience for me to be able to say, I do have a voice, what I have to say matters, despite what's happening in the classroom, I can contribute. And so that has kind of informed my whole career at the end of the day, I think, in some sense. So I help people find their voice, and I think, there's a lot we're up against when we're trying to communicate out there, and a lot of people have a great message, they're doing great things in the world, but a lot of us are quiet still. And I think, there's a lot of things that keep us from sharing our message. Some of it's just complete overwhelm. I mean, I go into the zone where I'm absorbing, not producing anything for periods of time. You're just taking it all in and kind of get overwhelmed. It's intimidating. There are bullies around that, you step up and say something and they're gonna always say the opposite. It's a harsh world at times. And there's just, the resources and the time and all that stuff in communicating, but it really is so valuable. And so I'm going to share 3 ways that I use to get over it. I'm still, like I said, I'm not an expert. If you look at my social media feeds, I'm not showing up every day. I'm not showing up doing, all the things that I should be doing, but I'm working on it. And I think it's a really important skill for all of us to have, because I know that each one of you have something inside of you that you really should be sharing with the world. The quote from Maya Angelou, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. And I do think that's true. Like, we have something inside of us that needs to come out, and whatever way it can come out, we need it to. So the first tip I have is go back to your why. So that always gives you power when you think about, why am I doing this? And I have my clients whenever we're doing anything, a blog post, anything. Why are we doing this? What's the bigger purpose? And if you ask why 3 times, you get to the real why. It's why are you working? Well, I got to feed my kids. Why? But you could do that doing anything. So why this? So keep asking why. And the more you explore your why, and I know Simon Sinek is the expert on the why. And if you haven't checked out his TED Talk, it's awesome. Start with why. It's definitely changed how I think about things. But your why comes out ultimately in how you do everything. Either directly or indirectly, people can sense what your intentions are. So really exploring what you're doing and why you're doing it is hugely important. And the second tip that I have is solve a problem. There's a lot out there that you maybe don't even have to be an expert on, but you have a viewpoint. You have a different way to look at the problem. You have a different way to examine it and share it. And doing that and kind of giving other people advice on something or something that you've gone through is huge. So the best way that I found to do that is really think about who you're communicating with and try to come from a place of empathy. Think about really what are their problems? What are they struggling with? And again, the 3 whys, they may say they have a certain problem, but when you think oh, I'm so busy, but really why are they busy? A lack of priorities or, ask the deeper questions to really understand the problem, and you will stand out in this world because a lot of people are looking, at the quick fix and not getting deeper with their ideas and content and things like that. So that's my second tip, is solve a problem. And John Dewey's just a really smart guy. Did a lot of things in his life, philosophy, other things. But he said a problem well stated is a problem half solved. And I think that's really true. That part of it is just stepping back and saying, what are some of the issues that are around my business, around what I work on, that we're not talking about? What are the deeper issues? And then tip number 3 is build your plan. And this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, I think. At the end of the day, you can be really inspired. You can solve a lot of problems. If you don't have a plan, you're not going to show up consistently, and you're probably going to be missing out on opportunities. And I think this is the part where putting a plan together is hard work. It takes the time to step back and think about the why, think about the problems, think about how you want to show up, think about what are the channels that are best fit for you. And there's really no off-the-shelf thing you can do with that. You have to spend the time to work out your plan. Think about your stakeholders. Who in your life do you want to communicate with? And this doesn't necessarily just have to be business. It can be, family and friends. We all have. I was just thinking about Christmas cards the other day and how, some people send out Christmas cards, some people don't. But people have, whether they articulate it or not, kind of a personal communication strategy. Who are you? Who's in your wheelhouse? So who's in your realm that you want to talk to, and what are your plans for communicating with them? Being intentional and planning, you can make a big impact with even those kinds of things. Birthday cards, all that kind of personal touches that go into communication. I think if we all just took a little bit of time and put a plan together for trying to be better at that, we could make a huge impact in all of our circles, not necessarily just our business, but our personal circles as well. I think a plan should be inspired, individualized, and implementable. Those are kind of the 3 I's that I use with plans. And so by inspired, I mean, you don't want to look at your plan and be like, oh, I don't want to do any of that. That sounds horrible. It should come from a place of joy for you. I'm really excited about showing up here. I haven't launched it yet, but I'm starting a podcast because, you can tell from anyone who I love to talk. So I'm like, that is the perfect platform for me, and some people, that may not be it at all. Love to write, create art. There's a pastor at my church that draws out all of the comic strips for his sermons, and it's so amazing and so beautiful. So I would say, you have to be inspired by wanting to do it. It has to be something that calls your heart to do. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. We can try so hard, but discipline is only going to get you so far. And individualize, the same thing. You can't take a plan off the shelf and copy what someone else is doing. It's not going to fit who you are, how you want to show up, and it's not necessarily going to fit your audience because it's all individual. And then implementable. So I think this one is hard for me because I'm an eternal optimist. So I always want to say I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And then when I don't do it, I feel bad. And so I think just being realistic, just like all smart goals, be realistic and, reach for something that excites you and go for it. But don't set your expectations so high that you're going to feel like I didn't do everything that I said I was going to do. And now what's the point? So yeah, I have some templates for plans, but I think it's thinking about those things. The why, it's matching your audience and where they are, where you want to be, and then kind of scoping out how are you going to measure how you're doing in that realm. What are the measurements and how can you make sure it's effective and it's doing all the things that you want it to do. And then if you can delegate certain things, that's awesome too. You know, if you want to do the video, you love video, you want to do a book, but you don't want to do all the pieces. Like, think about that. Think about, like, what parts of it do I want to do? What parts of it don't I want to do? Don't let it stop you from doing it, because there are people that can help you figure out whatever channels you want to do, social media, whatever you want to do, there's somebody who can help you. So if it feels right and it feels like somewhere you want to be, find the help that you need to get it done and do it. I think this quote is really true. Happiness comes when your work and words are a benefit to yourself and others. So that's what communication's all about, right? Adding value into your own life and to other people's lives, and making sure that you show up, because the world needs you. The world needs your message and your voice and everything that you have to say. And I know there's a lot of inspiring thoughts in here that I would love to see out in the world. So I hope that you can all get past whatever 6th grade, junk that you got to get through, and whatever other things in the world that are going to try to keep you held down, and get out there and share your message. So thank you so much.
Thank you.